Hi, Terry Riddoch here from the Property Investment Channel. Tenants can make you a lot of money, and tenants can also cost you a lot of money. So it's very important, key that you get this right. Now, there is no 100% guaranteed method of success that's going to always keep you out of trouble. However, there are things that you can do to minimize the risk of problems down the road. Having done this for many years successfully, here are 5 things I do when I'm screening tenants. Number one, try and choose the bright ones. I know that sounds a little bit funny, but bear with me. Texts with spelling mistakes, emails with punctuation errors, emojis, LOLs all over the place. Here's the way I look at that. This person is approaching a prospective landlord for the first time, and this is how they've chosen to present themselves. Got a bit of a problem with that. When you give clear instruction on what information you want and how you want to be contacted, and it's completely ignored, that's a problem for me as well. Here's what I mean by that. When I post listings for rent, I use Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace. They're cheap and they get in front of a ton of eyeballs, too many eyeballs. 95% of the respondents you're not going to be renting to. So, what I do is at the bottom of every post, 100% of the time, and all in caps, I write, do not reply to this post. Please email Terry at terryriddoch.ca and tell me about yourself. Who are you and where do you work? So this past January was a great example. Post a listing, a couple hours later, I get a response to the post from a gent asking, can I come and see the unit tomorrow at 7? Benefit of the doubt, I write back, please reply to this email, not to this post. And remember, who are you and where do you work? Well, a few hours later, the gent replies to that post, so can I still come tomorrow? No, you can't come tomorrow. Don't want to deal with you. Remember, pick the bright ones. You are going to be in a business relationship with this tenant for possibly many years. So you want somebody that you can work with, right? Number two, watch for red flags and always speak with a prospective tenant before you let them see the unit. My personal favorite is a tenant who's too good to be true. The wife says, I'm a professional cleaner, I'm a professional horticulturist, my husband's an electrician and a plumber and a brain surgeon. Okay, I don't care. The more time you spend trying to convince me of how great a tenant you're going to be, the less I trust you. Ask direct questions and expect direct answers. We're watching out for evasiveness here. True case from a few months ago. Fellow emails me, hi, I'd like to see the unit. I saw your post on Facebook or whatever. Great, I reply. Here's my cell. You give me a call after work. I'd like to speak with you. The first thing 100% of the time when I have these conversations with prospective tenants is, where do you work? He replies, in Guelph. Okay, but where in Guelph? It's a construction company. Okay, what company do you work for? It's a construction company in Guelph. Okay, that guy is not getting in. Final one is the delayed deposit. This goes like this. Hi, love to take the place. Would you mind terribly? I'm going to pay you half the deposit now, and then I'll give you a check for 2 weeks from now when I get paid. Here's the way I'm looking at that. You have had a minimum of 60 days to figure this out. You probably didn't have to pay this past month's rent. You knew you needed this amount of money on this date, and you still couldn't figure it out. I'm now worried about you paying rent. Number three, pick who you want living in your building based on your building. And what I mean by that is if you've got an apartment building full of seniors, don't have single 20-year-old guys move in. Conversely, if you've got a student building, it's probably not a good idea to have grandma and grandpa move in. So we want to avoid the potential calls of complaint from your tenants, from your neighbors, or even bylaw if grandma and grandpa are partying a little too hard during exam period. Number four, do a social media screening. What that means in English is get on the computer and Google the person. If they tell you that they are the best tenant you're ever going to have, they just go to work and then come home to sleep, except for on Wednesdays when they have Bible study, check them out. And if the first thing that pops up when you type in their name is top 5 keg parties in town, they're probably lying to you. Last one, number 5, trust but verify. Here's the way the process works. You posted an ad, we've got through the first 4 steps, and we've got a candidate that would like to take the place and you want to rent to them. Great. So what you're going to do is you're going to provide them with an application. Always use an application. If you don't have one, email me. I'll send you the one I use. On that application will be where they work, how much they earn, where they used to live. Great information that you're going to need to vet the tenant. But again, we are trusting, but we're verifying. So for example, if they say they work at this place and they earn this much money, you are going to ask them to also provide a letter of employment. That letter of employment should match what's on the application, but we're still not finished. At the bottom of the letter of employment will be somebody's name, the boss or the HR department. You are going to call that person and you're going to say to them, "My name is Terry. Jane provided me this letter of employment. It states that she earns X, has worked at the company for this length of time. Is that correct?" So we're verifying with those two things. Also, credit checks. If they are chronically late paying Rogers, if they have 10,000 bucks out in collections that they haven't dealt with in the last 5 years, you need to be worried about paying rent, and that's not a good starting. Call previous landlords. Okay, this one gets a little bit tricky because the current landlord, if they're bad tenants, has an incentive to get them out of their building and make them your problem. So they may tend to be a little bit more flowery. Yeah, they're great. It's too bad we're losing them. Mm. So what I do is I also make sure that I'm calling the landlord 2 ago and the landlord 3 ago if I can find. Those landlords have no axe to grind and are usually a little bit more honest and forthcoming. You're going to ask, did they pay the rent on time? How did they leave the place when they moved out? Were there any problems with tenants? Did they damage the property? So trust, but verify. Okay, so I hope you found that informative and useful. I'm just going to leave you with this. I rented out my first residential unit back in 2005. From then until now, I've never had to evict a tenant, and I've only been stiffed for half a month's rent. So these 5 things will help minimize and reduce the risk of you running into trouble with the tenant. If you have any questions, I want to hear from you. And don't forget, if you could, please like and subscribe. Thanks, and we'll talk soon.